4 years, 2
2
months in prison.
Wow.
He served a year. He gets some time. He gets 15% credit, so he'd be at 14-ish.
2.5 years.
2 months.
So, and then he gets another 15% in the remaining.
Yeah.
He's out in 2 years.
Yeah. Should have stuck with the original guest.
I know.
Yeah. Why
I
goodness.
know.
We are witnessing the collapse of a man who once seemed untouchable. Sean Diddy Combs, who just a few years ago was grinning from the marble pool deck of his Miami palace, hosting all-night parties with the world's biggest stars, now wakes up each morning staring at cracked, cinderblock walls and the steel frame of a prison bed. Not a memory foam mattress in sight, just a 1.5-inch pad so thin we'd barely call it a yoga mat. The empire built on platinum records, Ciroc bottle deals, and can't stop, won't stop bravado is gone. He is not ruling from the corner office. He's not even calling the shots in the cell block. Instead, at 55, he's begging for medical care, panicked about every shadow in the hall, and according to a lawyer who has seen it up close, waking up on a steel bed with a 1.5-inch mattress, no pillow, in an 8-by-10-foot cell that I can assure you is disgusting. Forget the ocean views and the infinity pool. His window now is a reinforced slit that never opens, with the only view being the promise of another bleak day inside MDC Brooklyn.
He would definitely go out in his institutional jumpsuit. He would be handcuffed, leg irons, and what we call a Martin chain, which is the waist, the chains around your waist, handcuffs, and then the what we call a black box. That would be a little mechanism that would go over the handcuffs to make sure that he is not moving around necessarily. And I'm almost certain that they probably had 3 or 4 staff.
The contrast is so sharp, it almost feels scripted. One minute you're sipping bubbly with Beyonce in LA, the next you're queuing for a communal shower with only a paper-thin curtain for privacy, hoping the guy before you didn't decide to mark his territory. Let's not sugarcoat this. His 4-year sentence for violating the Mann Act isn't just about lost time or humiliation. That he's finished, he will not survive a day in prison, goes the whisper from his old circle. There is just horror going on. It might sound melodramatic until you look at the headlines. Diddy has been denied bail more times than we can count, and each time, the news from inside gets worse. He's not in a country club lockup, and whatever glimmer of hope his lawyers parade around the press is not breaking through the gloom. The great music mogul is now fighting just to survive the day, praying for a hospital transfer, and, according to those who have seen his recent court appearances, physically falling apart.
I think when it came to, it's not just the more serious charges, but it's the more complex charges, where the jury, in order to, for instance, find guilt on the racketeering charge, was going to have to find not just that Sean Combs had kicked his girlfriend, had beat people up, had engaged in truly abhorrent behavior, but that he ran a criminal enterprise.
If the mansions and Bentleys have vanished, the horrors of MDC Brooklyn are all too real. This is a place that civil rights lawyers have called hell on earth. Forget about bland cafeteria food. We're talking about allegations of maggots wriggling in potatoes, beans so suspect inmates hoard bread to avoid anything with too much protein wriggling inside. One federal defender, Sabrina Schroff, put it bluntly, our clients are forced to eat on the margins, the white bread, the rice, food you can check to avoid bugs and vermin. The official response, of course, is an icy wall of denial. The Bureau of Prisons insists meals are nutritionally adequate and meet all dietary requirements. Meanwhile, the lawyers keep getting new photos and clients keep losing weight. Diddy's appearance in court has sent shockwaves. His graying hair and thinner frame are making headlines. The man who once flexed for GQ now looks, according to one reporter, astonishingly thinner. This isn't just a bad photo angle. It's months of living in a place where the only reliable food group is bread and the daily special is existential despair.
So that's where Diddy has been for months now, but last week he was taken to the hospital. According to reports from the New York Post, Diddy was transported from MDC in the cover of darkness at about 10 p.m. on January 30th. He was taken to a Brooklyn hospital for an MRI after reporting issues with his knee.
And the psychological erosion is harder to quantify, but it's on full display. Diddy, who once ruled every room he entered, is now reported to be throwing tantrums behind bars. At first glance, you might write this off as diva antics, the ego of a superstar unable to process reality. But those who know prison say this isn't ego, it's a man unraveling. Imagine the guy who orchestrated freak-off parties now losing it over maggots in the beans and the indignity of standing in a line for 10 minutes just to use a microwave. The Bureau of Prisons can parade all the press releases about secure and humane conditions they want. Nobody on the inside is buying it, least of all Diddy.
But he talks in this complaint, Reed, about fearing for his life, not just while he was working for Sean Combs, but afterwards. He tells stories about physical violence, about a time where he actually had to drive 100 miles an hour to try to escape Mr. Combs, and says he didn't call the police because he worried that that would be a death sentence.
But food and filth aren't the whole story here. The threat level at MDC Brooklyn is off the charts, even for high-profile inmates. This isn't a minimum security spa. It's a place where just last summer, one man was stabbed to his end and another lost his life after a brawl. The whispers in the hallway are not about rap beef or Grammy nominations. They're about which inmate might not make it through the month. And Diddy, who is now the most famous face on the block, is far from the most dangerous. He shares space with accused CEO shooter Luigi Mangione, a man whose reputation, according to the NY Post, outshines Diddy's among the hardened crowd. Imagine that for humiliation. From dominating red carpets to being upstaged in the prison pecking order, there's R. Kelly a few doors down. There's the crypto king Sam Bankman-Fried, who at least gets some points for nerdiness, but even he's a footnote compared to the men who've earned their notoriety the hard way. And it gets uglier. The rumor mill is in overdrive, and even Diddy's loyalists admit he's been targeted. Allegedly, there have already been life threats, actual, specific threats, not just angry glances in the shower line. He's got extra protection, but in this place, protection just means a new flavor of isolation and paranoia. Industry veterans are saying in no uncertain terms that he is not going to last. The lawsuits outside keep piling up, but the real threat, the one everyone whispers about, is coming from inside those walls. And don't think the other inmates are lining up for autographs. Reportedly, they're lining up for something else. The collapse is so total, it's almost comical. If it weren't so dark. Just last Thanksgiving, while America gorged on family feasts, Diddy's holiday consisted of roast turkey for lunch, and then, for dinner, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's what passes for luxury now. A cold slab of white bread instead of caviar, eaten under flickering fluorescent lights, surrounded by strangers who see him as a target, not a superstar. The people who used to cheer his every move are now openly debating when, not if, he will break. Insiders are giving us the line that sums up the entire tragedy. He is finished. And this isn't about his legacy, his trial, or his sentence on paper. It's about whether he can physically and mentally survive another week, another month, inside the crumbling walls of MDC Brooklyn. The clock is ticking.
The judge has given him a huge signal. You haven't done this yet, sir, and I got to sentence you, and I got discretion. You read the room with the judge, and you say it.
I hate myself right now.
We saw it firsthand, the last gasp of a superstar. On sentencing day, the spectacle in the courtroom was almost too much for even the tabloids. Diddy, a man who used to make entire arenas tremble, now sat shrunken, all his bravado evaporated under the sickly courthouse lights. His children were there, faces streaked with tears, begging the judge not to take their father away. Some couldn't hold back the sobs. Then came the moment everyone will remember. Diddy, visibly thinner, his hair now more ash than black, stood up and called his own actions disgusting, shameful, and sick. Gone was the swagger, replaced by an apology so raw that even some prosecutors were left glancing down at their notes, not at him. He pleaded for mercy, called out his family by name, and even spoke directly to Cassie Ventura and Jane Doe, the women whose testimony shattered whatever was left of his public image. He tried to tell the court he had changed, but Judge Arun Subramanian didn't budge. A history of good works can't wash away the record in this case, the judge told him. 4 years and 2 months, plus a $500,000 fine, just numbers. But they sounded like a life sentence as the words echoed across that silent courtroom. We watched a mogul try to beg his way out of a cage. Instead, he was led right back in. From the outside, the defense made a desperate push to paint Diddy as a man reformed by hardship. They played a video reel of charity galas and underdog stories, paraded his children to the witness stand, and asked the court to see him as a changed man. But if Diddy was hoping for redemption, what came next made a mockery of it. The moment the camera switched off, the curtain lifted on his new reality. Insiders have been leaking details that are so bleak they almost sound made up. Tantrums thrown when Mangione, the accused CEO suspect, stole his limelight among the inmates. Bitter feuds with guards over denied phone calls, and wild rumors of him trying to buy influence inside. His legal team insists he's a model prisoner, but the stories from MDC Brooklyn tell a different tale. Physical decline is only the start. It's the psychological toll. The isolation, the humiliation, the feeling of being irrelevant even behind bars, that's wearing him down. Every day, Diddy files requests for hospital care, and every week the speculation grows. Is he faking it, or is the pressure breaking him? One industry veteran who still takes calls from inside the facility says, nobody thinks he'll make it, not the full 4 years. It's not about parole, it's about whether he survives at all. The Bureau of Prisons, for their part, keep rolling out the same lines about safety and humane conditions, but it's a thin layer of polish over a crumbling institution. The weight loss, the graying hair, the the panic attacks? They're not just symptoms of guilt. They're signals that the system is eating him alive faster than anyone could have predicted.
Well, I mean, inmates have procedures all the time. I mean, you have folks there with cancer, you have folks there with, serious other chronic diseases. And sometimes it does require individuals to have surgery even while they're on pretrial status. So
now the shadow over MDC Brooklyn is longer than ever, and history is not on Diddy's side. The institution sits in a city that remembers Jeffrey Epstein, whose abrupt end at the old Manhattan jail set off conspiracy theories still echoing in chat rooms. After Epstein, the feds shut down Manhattan and moved everything to Brooklyn, turning MDC into a pressure cooker for America's most notorious names. Diddy is sharing air with the likes of R. Kelly, Martin Shkreli, Ghislaine Maxwell, and the kind of alleged hard men who treat headlines like currency. Each one of these stories was supposed to be a cautionary tale. Don't fly too close to the sun.
And in their complaint, Diddy's attorneys are saying that NBC Universal made the assumption that their client has committed numerous heinous crimes, including serial murder, R of minors, and S trafficking of minors.
Now the gossip is about which name will never leave the facility alive, whether by violence, illness, or sheer mental collapse. Some former inmates claim the staff are overwhelmed, the cameras don't always work, and there's a reason why every few months another story leaks out about an incident. When Diddy's old world peers, rappers, moguls, even some so-called rivals, talk quietly off the record, they all say the same thing. He's not safe in there, not from them, and not from himself. The question that's burning through all the gossip isn't about his legal team or his appeal, it's about survival. Every week that passes, Diddy looks worse, not better. Every day brings another rumor. Someone saw him being hustled to the infirmary, someone else claims he's not eating, a third says he's trading commissary for extra time with a counselor. Even among those who think he deserved punishment, there's a dawning sense of horror. This is not justice. This is slow-motion self-destruction. The lawsuits are piling up on the outside, but the real battle is being fought in that gray, silent cell. In the same building where R. Kelly plotted his appeal and where Ghislaine Maxwell endured her own tabloid circus, Diddy now sits, another name, another statistic, possibly another headline waiting to break. There's no velvet rope, no exit strategy, just a daily grind of survival in a place with a reputation for breaking even the hardest of men.
Specifically challenges allegations suggesting that Mr. Combs and his involvement in the 2018 death of his former partner, Kim Porter, whose passing was officially attributed to natural causes by the Los Angeles County coroner.
While the cameras outside the prison gates stay glued to every ambulance arrival and lawyer visit, the rest of the world is glued to their screens for a very different reason. Peacock's documentary, Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy, has become appointment viewing, dissecting every moment of his meteoric rise and shocking fall. Viewers binge on archival clips of Diddy at the top of his game, red carpet swagger, yacht parties that lasted for days, declarations of can't stop, won't stop that once sounded like prophecy. The production is all slow-motion triumphs, glittering trophies, behind-the-scenes deals that seemed to bend the rules of the industry. But as the credits roll, the cruelest irony hangs over it all, because while audiences marvel at his genius, the man at the center of the spectacle is pacing a filthy cell, desperate for a nurse instead of another endorsement deal. The contrast is more than just visual, it's existential. The docuseries lingers on the mythology, the perfectly curated image of bad boy entertainment as an empire built by sheer willpower and charisma. It's all about the golden age when Diddy was untouchable, a master of reinvention, flipping setbacks into fresh brands and new fortunes. Watching it now, though, every glitzy montage feels like foreshadowing. No documentary producer could have scripted a bigger plot twist. The superstar with the world at his feet now reduced to a number on a prison roster, fighting for basic dignity. As the streaming special chases ratings, the real story is playing out in slow agony. A collapse so total that even his most devoted fans are left questioning what was ever real.
Did he? Or didn't he? Well, if he didn't, he's got a lot to explain. Well, apparently what Diddy's done now, which is a very interesting thing, is he's on the offensive of sorts. That's right, Sean Diddy Combs has initiated a $100 million defamation lawsuit.
Even the creators of the documentary couldn't ignore the shadow looming over their own footage. By the time the series dropped in January 2025, Diddy was already in his 10th month at MDC Brooklyn, and the allegations swirling around him had taken on a life of their own. The producers used the opportunity to dig into the uncomfortable truths that fueled the downfall. Decade-old accusations, whispers of secret parties, the network of silence and NDAs that kept the real story out of the tabloids for so long. It's a glossy retrospective, but every episode now feels like a post-mortem, peeling back layers of illusion that are impossible to maintain when the main character's future has never looked darker.
They go on to say, quote, it maliciously and baselessly jumps to the conclusions that Mr. Combs is a, quote, monster and a, quote, embodiment of Lucifer with, quote, a lot of similarities to Jeffrey Epstein.
The public's obsession with the documentary only intensifies the sense of separation between myth and man. People tune in to gawk at the excess six-figure luxury bills, the parade of celebrities, the drama that always managed to end with another hit single or sold-out tour. But that version of Diddy, immortalized in studio lighting and crisp editing, exists nowhere but in memory and marketing. The present reality is raw and relentless. As the documentary climbs the streaming charts, the real Diddy is losing weight, losing hope, and losing the last shreds of privacy. Every new episode is a reminder of how quickly public adoration can evaporate, how fast the curtain falls when the world decides to stop believing in the story. And yet, the spectacle is part of what's keeping his name alive. Even as his physical presence fades behind bars, the documentary feeds the endless social media debate. Is he a misunderstood visionary or a villain finally facing consequences? While Diddy himself drifts further from any version of redemption. The series was supposed to celebrate a legacy. Instead, it's become a cautionary tale, a living contradiction that underscores just how far and how fast the legend of Bad Boy has plummeted from the heights of pop culture to the depths of MDC Brooklyn. And this is where the rumors cross over into prophecy. Insiders are openly betting on how long he can last, with one ex-road manager whispering he won't see the end of his sentence. There's no chance. Even his staunchest supporters are starting to look away, unwilling to stake their reputations on a man who seems to be vanishing in real time. The clock is ticking, but it's not counting down to freedom. It's counting down to what insiders are calling the inevitable. The Bureau of Prisons keeps pushing their sanitized press releases, but anyone with a foot in the real world knows that the story is running away from them. Diddy's 4-year sentence is starting to look less like a punishment and more like a countdown to oblivion.
A judge says here the data shows a wide variety of sentences. Weighing all the relevant factors, the court determines that the sentence is 50 months of incarceration.
50. 4 years.
4 years.
5-0.
4 years, 2 months.
2 months.
Yep. Wow. 50 months.
Do that 4 years, 2 months?
Though here's what we have. A 4-year sentence that, according to the people who know, might as well be a life sentence. Who once outlasted every beef, every scandal, every lawsuit, may not even make it to his next court date. Is this the story of a star serving time? Or are we witnessing the final chapter of a man who truly had it all and lost even his last chance to survive? But drop your theories below. Will Diddy walk out, or will his name end up on the same tragic list as the others who never made it home? Let us know what you think. Until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and never forget. Sometimes the real drama is happening behind bars.